Okay, brief tour of my little garden. I guess we'll start over here. The boxwood that are all doing really well, considering the heat and drought we've had this year, with some verbena growing through it, and some daylilies that are just about spent. There's one and a couple buds, I think. And the milkweed that I bought not too long ago at Family Tree. And a little Nymphofia that I bought because I really like them. I planted some last year, but they did not come back, so we'll see. And this is the bed I did earlier this spring with some white salvia and some Dusty Miller, a couple columbines. I think they're both songbird. This one's a white songbird and this one's a yellow. And some more salvia, another white variety. And there's this sort of silvery stuff, but I don't remember the name. I would have to dig out the tags. And over here, Russian sage. I've got one over here too, on both sides of the little sort of pergola thing that I have. And some white echinacea, however you want to pronounce it. Grass is Calamagrostis Carl Forster, feather reed grass. Some more coneflowers, echinacea. This is a sort of an orangey, bronzy one that's just about spent. Most of the flowers have faded and we're just stuck with cones. Same with this one. I like this one at the beginning of the year. It was a nice tall variety. The problem is that it's a little too tall for its own good, and all it wants to do is fall over. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this one or not. I've got some more columbine here. This is a variety called Lime Sorbet. And there's a sedum hiding in here as well, and a little I forget the name. It's related to carnations. I'll remember it later when I don't need it. Tiny lavender plant. Some more columbine. A little dwarf spruce that I'm probably going to move either this fall or next spring. We'll see. There's some bronze fennel hiding back here. I got that when I got the milkweed over here. Some more Carl Forster. This is a little boring right now. This is an aster, so it looks like it's just starting to get some little buds on it. So should be, it's a nice lavender color, light purple. So it'll be good coming this fall, hopefully. Some more milkweed. This one I planted earlier in the year. This is one of the few dahlias that I kept because almost all of my dahlias were infected by a virus this year. So they were all pitched, and that's just the way that goes. This is one of my favorites that I have. It's a contorted hazel. I've only had it for a couple years. Unfortunately, it is also a favorite of the dreaded Japanese beetle. But they are gone for the most part, and it's recovering nicely. So, hopefully it'll put on some good growth for the rest of the year to help it, through the torment that it receives each year from the Japanese beetle. Some more asters, some more coneflowers, some more Calamagrostis Carl Forster, my political signs that we'll ignore, because that's not what this group is about. And lamb's ears. Recently cut back all the flower heads because they were spent, and if I don't, it will lay its 2 billion children all over my yard. There's probably going to be a lot coming up anyways. Some more. This and this one were both seeds from last year, and you see what one seed turned into. So they grew actually last fall, and they were tiny little plants. And then of course this year, this is what happens. Some grass I'm pulling up. This is a milkweed. This is a swamp milkweed. One of the it's supposed to be a perennial. Only 2 came back. I guess there's actually 2 plants here, so 3 came back that did well. None of the others survived. There's a little close-up of the flowers. No monarchs right now, but come August, they should be covered. Asparagus that is not been doing well the last couple years. I'm thinking of digging it up. I may start some new asparagus somewhere else. When I planted this several years ago, I didn't really know what I was doing in regards to asparagus, and so, you know, we've gotten some decent asparagus out of it, but for the most part, when it comes to the food crop part of the asparagus, it just doesn't produce that well. So we'll see what I'm going to do with it. This is the zinnias and the cosmos that I planted en masse earlier this year. The zinnias are really doing well. The cosmos, as you can see, are just getting started. The zinnias were supposed to be all this sort of orangey canary yellow color, but as you can see, some other colors have popped in here, but I don't mind it. I think it sets off the yellow, so I'm happy. And this fall, I'm going to just let all this stay where it is, and then and with the seed heads all intact. And then next fall, I'll mow it all to the ground and leave the trimmings. I might mix it up a little bit with the rake, and I'm also going to throw in some milkweed seeds into the mix, and we'll see what happens next year. I'm really happy with the way the zinnias are turning out, and the cosmos look like they're going to be just as nice. Maybe I can back up just a little bit so you guys can see it. And if I don't, try to walk on my other plants, walking backwards. Oh, here in the center, which I didn't see, besides the empty bird bath, that is surrounded by Verbena bonariensis. I had 4 Verbena plants last year, and this is what it turned into. In fact, it came up all over the yard. I pulled probably at least 50 plants that were not in places that I wanted them earlier in the year. And there's another little boxwood that you know, I hope will become a box ball one day. But it's got many more years of growth before that's going to happen. But overall, it's doing well. It's got a little bit of yellowing, but it's all right. And this is here next to within the verbena is a butterfly bush that's just getting going. I actually thought it was dead. It completely died back to the ground this year. I think because of the severe cold we had last year. And I waited and waited and waited this spring, and nothing was happening, and I was just ready to dig it up, and I pulled some mulch back at the base of it, and there it was growing. So it's not doing as well as it did last year or the year before, but it's there nonetheless, and I guess there's also a cosmos hiding in here. What kind of cosmos? I don't know, because I didn't plant it. So we'll see. And this is a willow that I planted, if you can believe it, last year, last spring of 2017, and it has gotten huge. Again, it's one of my favorites in the yard, except also, why is it all my favorites are favorites of the dreaded Japanese beetle? But again, the beetles are gone, and the plant is recovering. As destructive as the little bastards are, they do not seem to have affected the health of these favorite plants, although they look pretty cruddy. So we'll see. There's the other Russian sage. I really like the Russian sage. It's a doer. It always comes back and does really well. A clematis that is done for the year. Well, at least done with its flowers. It's got, as you can see, there was a ton of flowers on it, as it's got a ton of the seed heads. This is why one of the common names for clematis is old man's beard. It's because they produce these as their seed heads. Here's a different variety, and seed heads look a little bit different. This plant is a lot younger and is not appreciating the this dry heat that we've been getting. But overall, it's doing okay, I think. This other plant was that big last year, and now it's halfway up the trellis. So one of those things with clematis is you just got to be patient with it. Next year, this one should be hopefully all the way up the trellis. This is an annual euphorbia called Snow on the Mountain, and I planted several of them last year, and a lot came back from seed. However, 90% of the ones that came back from seed did not have the white variegation. They were completely green, and these did. So they got kept. There's also a little salvia that must have come back from seed, because I've never had salvia here. It's pretty. I like it. It's interesting. It's I've had two different varieties near here before that didn't come back, and one was purple and one was white, but neither one looked like this. So this looks like maybe it's some hybrid of the two. It's an interesting salvia. This is a pretty decimated evening primrose. It's a tall variety, and it's been attacked by virtually everything. I thought I was planting something else, and it ended up being this. So I've kept it only because I found some sphinx moth larvae on it earlier on in the year, just a few weeks ago, and so I've left it for them. In fact, earlier today, I can't see, I guess it's gone now, but there was some new caterpillar poo on it. So I'm guessing there's some new caterpillars on here somewhere, although I could not find them. And the plant has a ton of seed heads on it, so I don't necessarily want all these seed heads in my garden, so I'm going to have to decide pretty soon what I'm going to do with it. Some more lamb's ears that I have not trimmed back, so they're looking a little lanky. Here's a tomato plant that I did not plant, but as you can see, it has some little baby tomatoes on it. So yay for volunteers. There is a little tiny orange tomato, and yay! So that'll be fun. I intended to grow veg this year, but working 55 hours a week, I just don't have time right now. Here's a coneflower that used to live here, not under the shade of a tree, but I sort of forgot it was there when I planted the willow, and it probably needs to be moved because it would appreciate some more sunlight. And of course, more Calamagrostis, Carl Forster. I've got them, dotted a bunch of places throughout the yard. These two will get moved again so they're not underneath the shade of the willow, because they also like lots of light. Although they're not doing badly. These two, actually these three, I'm actually going to, next spring, when they first start growing, I'm gonna dig them up and I'm gonna separate them into a bunch of smaller chunks to propagate it, because Carl Forster is a sterile hybrid and it does not produce any seed. So the only way to propagate it is through division. So I'm going to break each one into at least 4 pieces. We'll see how big they are next year. I may get more than 4, but we'll just have to wait and see. So there's some little things going on over here. Some irises I planted earlier this year. There was also a dahlia here, which is why there's a big blank space. There's some columbine that have died back, but they're still here. They're still alive. They just haven't appreciated the dry heat very much. So some more cosmos, some more coneflowers, echinacea, and a little spirea that is also not really appreciating this dry summer heat. There's been so much that's not appreciating the heat. I would love to tell you what this is, but I honestly don't remember, and I don't have a tag for it anymore. So there you go. It's pretty. There it is. It's pretty, and again, it's doing well. But today's a cool day, so you get to see it on a rare day when it actually looks good. A few days ago, it doesn't matter how much you water it, it droops. And it's one of the things that will probably be going away. Anything that is just struggling to get through this dry heat is not going to remain in the garden. I'm gonna shift to either completely native or things that are drought tolerant, that do really well in this dry heat. These are my blueberries that used to be in the ground that I put into some pots because I don't think they really liked my clay very much. They've also been, not as badly, but they have also been attacked recently by grasshoppers and primarily the Japanese beetles. Gotta love them. Not. And I guess the last thing that I will really show on here is how terribly my banana is doing. I bought it earlier this year and it came up and it did really, really well. And then this dry heat arrived and I realized that this is not an environment that bananas really like. I have watered it and watered it and watered it and watered it and watered it. And it just, in the heat of the day, it doesn't care. It just doesn't care. This is the, I know I said I was done, but this is the whiskey barrel that was so pretty earlier in the year. And it had some geraniums, still there. I think they're geraniums. Some annual vinca, and some cordyline in the middle, and then this dead thing right here, at least I think it's dead, is English ivy. As you can see, it has also not loved this dry heat. Again, like the banana, I watered it and watered it and watered it some more, and it wasn't water that it was lacking. It was just it couldn't handle the heat. So next year, I'll probably put some mums in it this fall, and then next spring, I'm going to make it like a mini representation of the rest of the yard, where I'm only growing things that are extremely drought tolerant and or native. And that is pretty much the garden. So there it is. That's everything you saw. So yay, that's my garden. Bye.